Hi everyone in English 2323, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your weekly instructional video for week 4. It's already week 4, y'all. I'm just going to go right to it and show you where to go and what to do. So if we are in our course area, of course we want to start with clicking on content and going to week 4. So if you scroll at the bottom, week 4 will appear here. So this week we have a good amount of reading. I am forewarning you that the reading can take some time because we are at the point where we need one of those introductory chapters again. So we read the Romantic Period introductory chapter by our text editors, as well as Anna Leticia Barbald's poem and biography. Then we moved into Mary Wollstonecraft's Vindication of the Rights of Women. So really important texts in the Romantic period, but we're moving into another era, which is the Victorian era. Queen Victoria, right? So we really need to get the context because there are going to be quite a few texts that we cover from this period, and knowing what's going on during the time that these works were written is just really important. So make sure that you're breaking apart the reading into a couple of different sessions. Don't read everything straight through, especially because we not only have that background chapter, but we also have Tennyson's biography written by our course text editors, and The Lady of Shalott, which is a very famous poem by Tennyson that is actually something harkening back to previous time. It'll make sense when you read it. But again, take some breaks, especially because some of you are not necessarily people who would say that poetry is your favorite. So you'll want to take breaks. You'll want to kind of read the poem more than once. That should be a part of reading poetry anyway. And those of you who do enjoy poetry, this will be right up your alley. At least I hope. Tennyson was a very well-known author during his time. So you have that reading, you're watching the weekly instructional video, and there's also a mind map video because we are going to work on a mind map together with your literary leagues this week. So the prompt is posted, and I put here a majority of your league discussion should be completed by Thursday. Now this all really is going to depend on what you as a league planned for your timeline. So the architect should be logging in, summarizing. I'm going to go through the different elements of this week's work and how the roles are kind of broken apart. So you do have responses to all colleagues, which are due on Sunday. But again, a lot of this work is probably taking place a bit before the official deadline. You have a group mind map that is due along with those self-assessments for your league. So the participation boss for this week is uploading not only the mind map document, but also the self-assessment form. Okay, so it's one single form and one single mind map from one single person in your group. I'm going to stop really quickly to say that one of the random words in this week's video is coffee, which I need more of. All right, so if we scroll down, you have the mind map video as well as the guidelines or handout that I cover in the video, so if you need a quick reference. So I'm going to jump right into the discussion with your league this week. So we're going to make connections between the Victorian period as well as Tennyson's life and work, okay? So our goal is to do that in the form of a mind map, okay? So as a group, determine 4 main points that connect Tennyson's writing to what we read about in the Victorian era chapter. So those 4 points are then going to become those bubbles that radiate out from the center of your thought map. Okay, so from each of those 4 bubbles, you'll also add an additional idea. So once you watch the mind map video, this will make more sense. Your initial ideas can be about the time period, so those first 4 ideas radiating out from the center. Your central idea is basically going to be connection between Tennyson and the time period. So that's the idea. You are making those connections, and then you can either have 4 ideas that radiate out that are solely based on the time period or on Tennyson's work. And then coming out of those 4, you can make connections to the time period or Tennyson's work, depending on what you choose for the central ones. Okay, so each bubble, each thought, each little section that radiates out from that center should be 1 to 2 sentences about that point. Then the bubble radiating out from those 4 topics can be connection. Don't worry, when you watch the video, this is all going to make more sense. And so I put here, don't be overwhelmed. Start with ideas after reading the background chapter. I say start with that background chapter, then get into the poem. After each, consider those typical questions of who, what, where, when, why, how. Are you seeing connections between Queen Victoria and the Lady of Shalott, right? So then your main point out of the central can be about Queen Victoria. And then leading out of that can be about the Lady of Shalott, or vice versa, whatever your group chooses, okay? So just really focus on the reading, and then once you've done that reading, start to think about those connections. And I put a link here to Canva if you want to utilize that to generate a mind map, or the templates. Okay, so I put here a suggested kind of, assessment of the different roles. So I put the architect should offer a breakdown of the assignment and remind everyone of those due dates you planned out when you submitted your roles and responsibilities form. And if those maybe aren't useful for this work this week, then the architect can make those decisions. If you as a group have suggestions about that, or if you have a test on Tuesday and you won't be able to post something effective till Wednesday, then make sure the architect knows that. All right. So when should the bulk of the writing be completed? That's what the architect needs to determine. When should the scribe share the mind map draft for everyone's input? So the scribe is paying attention, putting those ideas together in the mind map. And when should everyone have their self-assessments to the participation boss, right? Does the participation boss just want a quick text message about the person's assessment? So, or an email that just says, hey, given that I was present this week, but I could have done more in terms of helping out, I give myself a B-. Or, it's out of 15 points, so you can kind of choose out of 15 points how much you want to give yourself, or just give yourself a letter grade, and I will make sure that that letter grade is associated with the number, right? So the communications chief should ensure everyone is checking in and on task, and if not, getting in touch with them in the way that you determined. The scribe should start a mind map and input the ideas that are agreed upon. So the scribe gets to choose the mind map, whether it's a template, Canva, that kind of thing. The participation boss is going to keep an eye on engagement levels, right? Because remember, the participation boss in that self-assessment form can say, hey, this person gave themselves a B-, but I really think that a B or a B+ is more accurate of their work. So the participation boss needs to pay attention throughout the week, along with, the scribe also. All right, and the questioner will touch base with the architect to see, what needs to happen that week. And that person should ask leading questions in the group discussion, right? Make sure that things are kind of progressing. So, y'all, staying organized for an assignment like this can be pretty difficult. So what I'm suggesting, and what I've put in each of your group areas, is 2 different threads. We practiced this last week as well. So the first thread is where the architect is going to summarize the assignment, is going to talk about the different schedule, and that's where you as a group can kind of go back and forth in a discussion thread about the particulars, right? About the schedule and the breakdown, who is responsible for what. Okay, and then the second thread is the actual work. Okay, it's where you want to, if you are responsible for making a connection between Queen Victoria and the Lady of Shalott, then you will respond in that thread so that the scribe can keep track of like what should go in the mind map. Okay, I'll show you. All right, so those threads will be there. So I suggest the architect begins the thread to summarize the assignment. So this thread is planning, right? And then the second one is the actual work, where the scribe can ultimately upload that mind map. And it's not visible here because I'm in the student view and D2L is the worst, but I will have 2 threads that are associated with those assignments. So just make sure that as a group you're keeping your ideas organized, because the scribe has to go through and put together ideas, and the participation boss needs to see if everybody's communicating. So separate the work from the planning and kind of the general group discussion. All right, so it may be a little bit bumpy, but hopefully you have a group that is going to be responsive. You've settled on a plan and all of that previously, and you're kind of adjusting according to the needs this week. So this is the assignment where just the participation boss is going to upload the group mind map and the single self-assessment form. Please make sure, if you are the participation boss, that you are uploading in a kind of file format that is readable, because you know that's what your grade is based on. If I can't see it, I can't give y'all a grade, right? And I don't want to give zeros. And then of course you have the week 4 quiz. The second random word for this video is going to be football, because NCAA football has begun. All right, so you do have quite a bit going on this week, but the first thing you need to work on is getting that reading taken care of and starting to see the connections that you can make between the text and the introductory chapter. Okay, so let that be the first. If you are the architect, jump in and offer a summary, do what you need to do in order to kind of move that ball, make sure that it's rolling down the road for the rest of your group. If you have any questions or concerns, please utilize that Q&A discussion board area, or you can email me directly. If you have people that are not participating in your group, then you may have to step up and take over part of the communication chief or part of the scribe. So just know that there has to be some fluidity and flexibility here, and that you may need to kind of prod your group to make sure that you get involved and have a schedule that is effective, right, for what you need this week. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and just have a great week.